We begin with the unbelievable story of one of our own Milford residents. Coleman Candelario has been fighting a fierce medical battle since the day he was born. Recently, that battle has taken a financial toll on the Candelario family, and two of our own Milford TV members decided to step up to the plate and organize a telethon to help raise funds for the family's medical expenses. In the piece we are about to show you, you'll have an opportunity to get to know what an amazing person Coleman Candelario is, as well as what our members have planned to help ease his family's financial struggles. Coleman Candelario's story is a truly remarkable one. In many ways, Coleman is very much like any other teenage boy.
He just had his 18th birthday on Thursday. He loves music. He loves food. He loves eating, anything that has to do with food. That has to do with his medical condition. So, like, he craves food, like a pregnant woman would crave food. He's like, 3 a.m., I need hot wings. I'm like, no, you don't need hot wings at 3 a.m. He's like a sponge. He loves learning anything with science or history or, space. He loves that stuff, and he eats it up. He wants to be a DJ. He wants to be a mixologist. He wants to do barbering. He's like, I just want to be around people. I just love talking to people, and he loves hearing people's stories.
But very early on in Coleman's life, just moments after his birth in fact, Coleman and his family were presented with a set of challenges that few have ever had to face.
He was born with hypoplastic left heart syndrome, so just hours after he was born, a nurse came in and said, your baby's blue. And, that's the worst news ever. So they immediately brought him to Children's, and we found out he was born with his left ventricle. That's what hypoplastic left heart is. So he has no left ventricle at all. So they kind of reworked his heart in 3-stage surgery so that it would pump and function. It doesn't pump. He doesn't have a pump, but it just kind of fills up and flows.
After managing his heart condition throughout his young life, a new complication surfaced for Coleman after one of his recent procedures.
He contracted something called protein-losing enteropathy. Protein-losing enteropathy, he swells in his face and his stomach. Normal kids with PLE swell in their hands and their feet. So he's kind of never done anything according to statistics. Treatment is a tricky word for people who are not living this, because it's not like there's a pill. It's not like you can go and get a magic test and they'll say, okay, this is what we can do for you. Every time we go, especially in Boston, who've been amazing to us from birth, obviously, they just kind of sit down on his bed and look at him and say, we just have to wait for you to get worse till we can figure something out. And that just simply wasn't acceptable to me. So I started looking and fighting and researching, and a friend of mine, Lenore Cameron, she started a support group years ago when her son was born within weeks of Coleman with the same disease. And she's like, you have to get a hold of Jack Rychek because he's doing stuff with PLE. And I'm like, what are you talking about? So it was like this amazing, the cloud opened up, there was hope.
The doctor the Candelario family found online, Jack Rychek, was conducting his research at a children's hospital in Pennsylvania. While the hope of new advancements in treating Coleman's condition meant the world to the Candelario family, the need to make frequent trips out of state presented new logistical and financial challenges.
The trips to Philly, we grossly underestimated how much it was going to cost to go there. So we quickly took a step back, regrouped, changed our plan, but that's what you had to do. We adjusted. So most of the time it's me and Coleman and my brother-in-law, his godfather, who come with us. So we're not traveling alone. It's always good to have a body, an extra driver or whatever. But you think travel expenses and then food, housing, hotel, whatever. And then just being in the hospital once we get there, because they don't get him all the time. We're not right down the street. They can't say, hey, we have an idea. Can you pop over? So they say, hey, while you're here, we're going to have you see, instead of just us, we're going to have you see 10 people. So our 2-day trip, 3-day trip has turned into a week. So you have to be able to go with the flow and adjust with 6 kids at home, total, with 6 kids. And then, Tony has a job. He's got to be at work. And my parents help. And we have neighbors who are amazing and friends who just lift you up when you can't stand on your own. But it's expensive.
With the team in Pennsylvania delving deeper into Coleman's condition, the latest news on how best to treat Coleman has pushed the resolve of the Candelario family to the limit.
We just recently found out in our last trip to Pennsylvania that his heart function is not well as we thought or hoped it would be. It's not well. So he needs a transplant, so they're gonna do the heart transplant, hopefully in Boston. We're trying to work it out so they can do it in Boston.
Since the beginning, the Candelarios have done their best to handle their medical expenses on their own. But as the years have gone on and the cost of Coleman's treatments continue to rise, the family has had no choice but to look for outside help.
We started this GoFundMe page. I started it out of sheer panic, really, because our trip was coming up and my bank account got hacked and they drained my bank account right before we were supposed to leave. And it was like, oh my God, like I couldn't breathe. Like I literally was breathless. I didn't know what to do. And one of my friends, my just dear friend, said, why don't you start a GoFundMe? We'll help you. People will help you. And I thought to myself, I don't want people to give me their money. Is $25,000 enough? Or why did you pick that amount? And I said, because it was the smallest amount I could pick. Is it enough? No, it's not going to be enough. I don't know what would be enough. I don't know what would cover what we're going to need, because it changes all the time. We want everybody else to treat him normal. So this whole process has been very difficult for him, because he's like, I'm just not Coleman. Now I'm that heart kid, or I'm that kid who needs a new heart and all that. It's like, well, yeah, you are, and we need help. So we kind of have to just go with emotions right now.
Enter R.J. Sheedy. Growing up in Milford, R.J. knew the Candelario family and knew Coleman was a kid his own age, dealing with a lot of tough challenges.
I've known Coleman since about middle school. I know he's had some conditions that's been going on with him. I never really knew the severity of it until I started really reading up on it recently, but I know he's always never been in school. He's had a hard time staying on track because of all his medical issues. So I know it's really been hard on him. I saw that his mother posted a GoFundMe page basically trying to raise money for his treatments. And I pretty much realized I got this place here. Can I do anything to help? And I basically started thinking of the idea of a telethon. And to put it together, I called up another Milford TV member, Brian Hopkins, because I know he's very instrumental in putting these things together and getting the right people together for these things. And I figured if I was to do this, I'd need his help because he knows how to put something like this together.
And so the two Milford TV members sat down, and together they put the plans in motion to produce the Coleman Candelario I Believe Live Telethon. It will be a night full of great entertainment and an opportunity for the Milford community to come together and support a truly remarkable young man.
I think we got at least 7 musical groups right now coming on to perform. Soloists, acoustics, pianists, all that you could imagine. We got 4 stand-up comedians. I, along with Shanna Jackman, will be hosting the event. And we're just kind of, a fun time down here trying to raise some money for a good cause. He's
always been an old soul. He's always kind of had that unique common sense that some, even some adults I know don't have, He just kind of gets life and appreciates it and challenges it. And he's always wants to learn something. He's always willing to learn something. And he really takes every day. And even though he struggles, he will sit down and recognize that the person next to him might be struggling, or you might be struggling, or, and he doesn't pity himself or take himself as to be more important than anyone else, because life is relative. He has said that to me so many times. It's like, they're suffering too. They have a story too. Everyone has a story.
It may be true that Coleman is different from the other kids his age, but the truth is, it is the strength, courage, kindness, and compassion that he has displayed throughout his young life that are the attributes that truly set him apart, much more so than any medical conditions.